she'd left, rather than just the items that had belonged to her. Money. Antique jewelry meant for his Napa Valley antique store. The valuables were a drop of rain in the ocean of his wealth, but Patrick never forgot an insult. He never forgave a perceived wrong. She shuddered, stepping away from the sink in the darkness beyond the window. He's married now, she reminded herself as she grabbed her coat and slid into it. She wanted to find comfort in that, but she couldn't. Patrick had become engaged to the widow of his business partner, Ryan Wilder, less than a year after Tessa had left. Ryan had been murdered several months before Tessa fled. She had attended his funeral with Patrick and seen how deeply his widow Sheila had grieved. The fact that she and Patrick had married a few months ago surprised Tessa every time she thought about it. She tried not to think about it. Just like she tried not to think about Patrick. Skimming online articles from Napa Valley gave her quick glimpses into the high society life she had once lived and reassured her that Patrick was busy living a life that didn't include her. She didn't miss him or the life she'd had with him. She wasn't mourning what she'd lost. She certainly wasn't jealous of Patrick's marriage. She was worried. Always. Every day. She lived with the fear that Patrick would find her and use the theft of his belongings as a bargaining tool to force her back into a life she hated. If she'd been thinking clearly at the time, she would have realized taking anything out of the safe would be a mistake. Even the beautiful and expensive jewelry Patrick had gifted her during their relationship should have been left behind. She'd been desperate to secure her future, and she had been in a rush to grab all the pricey pieces he'd given her. She'd been terrified Patrick would return home, so she hadn't taken time to look at each item. She'd taken everything and tossed it into an oversized purse before closing the safe and fleeing. Her reason didn't make her feel better. What she'd done was wrong. She knew that now. Then all she'd known was how afraid she was. She glanced at her watch and frowned. Time was ticking away while she worried about a past that she had left far behind. She had a diner to open, and if she was late doing it, her boss would not be happy. Ernie wouldn't fire her, but he'd be disappointed, and he'd let her know it. He'd taken a chance when he'd promoted her to day shift manager, and she'd worked hard to ensure that he didn't regret it. She grabbed her purse from a hook near the door and stepped outside, locking the door and checking it twice, just like she always did. Even with the wind whispering through dry grass and dead leaves, the morning seemed quiet. The distant sound of waves lapping against the shore was the only reminder that Provincetown was a thriving tourist destination. In the spring and summer, the beaches teemed with people, but in the winter, the sandy, windswept dunes were nearly devoid of life. That was when Tessa loved it most. She hurried down the path that led to the road, scanning the area for signs that she wasn't alone. She didn't expect to see anyone. In the years that she'd been walking to Ernie's diner, she'd only ever run into people during the summer months, when the sun rose early and excited vacationers rose with it. During the coldest months, she enjoyed her solitude, making the walk through the icy darkness as the sun made its way above the horizon. The dead-end street she lived on was lined with rental cottages, all of them empty in the fall and winter. The one she occupied belonged to Ernie and his wife Betty. They'd offered it for a good price, and she had been happy to accept. She had been renting the place for nearly as long as she had been in the Cape Cod town. Some days it felt like home. Other days it felt like a place to stay for a while. She'd have her nursing degree at the end of the school year. She'd take her RN exam in the summer. If she passed, when she passed, she'd have good job prospects and options for where she wanted to live. Life was working out the way she'd planned. Maybe that was why she'd felt so anxious lately. She didn't expect good things to happen. Even when she was living right, doing right, and following the rules, she expected the gavel to fall and her life to be thrown into chaos again. Betty often told her that God had good things in store, and Tessa wanted to believe it. She certainly believed that he'd brought her to Provincetown and given her the chance she needed to begin again.